Hi, this week's First Chapter Friday is Becoming Muhammad Ali, which is co-written by James Patterson and Kwame Alexander. And this book is it's called a fictional biography. It's a little bit confusing, but Muhammad Ali was a real person. And so this book is actually written kind of in cooperation and with the support of the Muhammad Ali estate. But it includes some fictional people and some fictional material, so it's considered kind of that's why they call it a fictional biography. So there's a lot of facts in here that are true, but some of the people are fictional. But Muhammad Ali was a real person. So this is co-written by two really incredible middle grade authors. James Patterson wrote the I Funny series and the Middle School Worst Years of Your Life, and he wrote the Maximum Ride series. And Kwame Alexander wrote the crossover and booked and a few other books. So Kwame Alexander writes in verse, and James Patterson doesn't. So you'll notice that there are different chapters kind of interspersed. There are chapters written from the perspective of Muhammad Ali's best friend Lucky that are James Patterson's, and then there are chapters written from the perspective of Muhammad Ali when he was a kid. That are written by Kwame Alexander. So here we go. The There's a sort of a dedication at the very beginning that reads, "The wonders and woes in this novel are true or based on truth, and real things that happened to real people, or real people we imagine to be true for real." Round one. I remember everything. You probably would have too. That night was a piece of American history. The Clay family phone was dusky black with a rotary dial, and it sat on a wooden table in the neat as a pin living room of the little house on Grand Avenue in Louisville, Kentucky. Some 20 of us were crammed like sardines into the room, waiting for the phone to ring. Waiting, waiting, waiting for Cassius to call home. It was a February night in 1958, and I remember it like it was yesterday. My best friend, Cassius, was 300 miles north in Chicago, and that night he was fighting for a championship in the Golden Gloves boxing tournament. Cassius wasn't a professional yet, just an amateur. Tall, but skinny, and a lot raw. Only 16 years old like me. I'm Lucius, by the way. Nice to meet you. You can call me Lucky. All my friends do. Had already won plenty of bouts all over Kentucky, but the Chicago Golden Gloves was the big time. When he won there, and we all knew he would, it would be lights out. From now on, people everywhere would know the name Cassius Clay. And I'm going to pause here and just let you know that Cassius Clay is Muhammad Ali's real name, original name. And so we waited for the phone to ring. I remember that living room was so packed with family and friends and neighbors that we could hardly move. The smell of roast chicken and sweet potato pie and cheese grits mixed with the smell of paint and turpentine. Mr. Clay, Cassius's dad, who everyone called Cash, was a sign and billboard painter, and he kept his work supplies right there in the house. "Mrs. Clay," somebody called out, "when that boy of yours gets famous, he ought to buy you a bigger house." "Oh, you know he will," she answered. Then she looked right at me. "Isn't that right, Lucius?" "Yes, ma'am, you know it is. Cassius promised you a big house." I remember that Mrs. Clay was too nervous to eat, but she wasn't too nervous to talk about how proud she was. Here's the picture of them waiting by the phone. "My Cassius did everything early," she was saying to a group of ladies. "He crawled early, talked early, walked on his toes like a dancer." The ladies all laughed, as if they hadn't heard that story 100 times before. But Mrs. Clay just couldn't help it. Cassius always told her he was bound to be the greatest, with a capital G, and she believed it with all her heart. So did I. So did everyone in Louisville's West End. "Come on, phone, ring-a-ding-ding." The men and boys around the room, including Cassius's little brother Rudy, looked at one another with big grins and made punching motions with their fists. The big fight should be over by now. Under those bright lights in the middle of that huge Chicago stadium, Cassius would be standing tall in that ring with one hand over his head like always, his opponent next to him with head bowed down in defeat. And then the phone rang. It was Cassius with news about the fight, and he told it like only Cassius could tell a story. And then here's the part where we get into the verse. Before the fight, a reporter asked me if I thought I was as good as Joe Louis or Sugar Ray was at my age, and I told him, I don't think I'm as good. I'm better. Got more flow than Joe, more slay than Ray. I'm sweeter, stronger, and faster. As a matter of fact, I'm so fast I can't even catch myself. Cassius Clay versus Alex Watt, February 24th, 1958. Here's how it all went down. The bell rang in Chicago Stadium, and I could barely see the lightweight rush me through the rank cigar smoke that filled the arena. In the first round, he threw punches like pitches, fast and straight, striking air and striking out. So I played peekaboo in the second, sending quick jabs to his head. You ain't ready for Cassius, I whispered. Then I shook him up with a left and took him down hard in the third. He sure wasn't ready, neither was I, when I found out who I was fighting next. Cassius Clay versus Francis Turley, February 25th, 1958. Frank Turley was a cowboy from Montana, meaner looking than an angry ox with fists even meaner. They said he broke a guy's nose with a left jab, then smiled when the joker went tumbling out of the ring, blood spurting every which way. I'll lick you good, boss, he said, winking at me before the bell rang, and I believed that he believed he would. Knockout. We traded punches like baseball cards. Him a wild Mustang, me a Louisville slugger. Back and forth, left and right, rough and rugged, till he cornered me with 2 lucky shots to the jaw that felt like kicks from a mule and sent me tumbling to the mat, wondering if I should just stay there. Long count. 1. While I lay there, the referee standing over me counting to 10. To see if I could get up, I wished my father was sitting ringside, shouting my name. 2. I thought about home, about 3302 Grand Avenue and playing football in the backyard with Rudy, and 3. The Montgomery kids next door who was going to babysit them now that I was a boxer. 4. And whether Lucky bought the new Superman like he promised. 5. I thought about my granddaddy Herman's story about Tom the Slave. 6. I thought about how boxing was going to set me free, set us all free. And 7. What I'd ask Mama Bird to cook for my celebration dinner after I got up. And 8. Whoop this cowboy from Montana and advance to the semifinals of the 1958 Golden Gloves Championship. Celebration dinner menu. 2 orders of veal, 3 slices of white bread, a bowl of cornbread dressing, 1 large green salad, a bowl of chili, scrambled eggs, cheese grits, baked chicken with baked potato, 2 pieces of pecan pie, 5 scoops of strawberry ice cream, and a great big old glass of OJ. Here's the picture. I jumped up on 9, and Frank kept swinging like a lumberjack trying to knock down a tree, but I kept standing, kept sticking, kept moving like a mighty wind until the final bell rang and the judges unanimously called out my name for the win. Cassius Clay versus Kent Green, February 26, 1958, Golden Gloves semifinals. I was a little weary from hanging out the night before, but that didn't shake my confidence when I stepped into the ring, gliding like a bomber jet and launching punches like missiles. Thing was, Kent Green was a tank, and he just brushed off my attack like you would a pesky fly at a picnic. The evening newspaper read, "The 16-year-old pugilist from Louisville, with his quick feet and a loud mouth, showed promise in his first 2 fights, but got outboxed by the older, more seasoned, hard-punching Kent Green." On the phone with Lucky. I might have lost, but I'm still boss. I lost my stride, but not my pride. I'm still here, and yeah, I'm coming home, but this dream I got is set in stone. To be the best in the hemisphere, to win the Golden Gloves next year. How do I know? 'Cause Cassius is courageous, tenacious, and one day he'll be the greatest. You hear that, Lucky? I'm coming home. So, if you want to hear more about what happened to Muhammad Ali in his career in the early days, then pick up this book. Thanks.